looks like the beef between Lil Kim and Diddy runs deeper than we thought, because Kim says she will never forgive Diddy for what he did to Biggie. Was Big really afraid of Diddy, and did Diddy really sacrifice Biggie to the Illuminati? It has been over 25 years since Biggie Smalls, aka Notorious B.I.G., passed away, but his death still remains one of the most controversial and talked about deaths in Hollywood. He was shot on March 9, 1997 on his way back from a party in Los Angeles, and he passed away less than an hour later at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Now, at the time, violence was quite high in the rap scene because there was just a lot of feuding, fighting, and stuff like that. So at first, people believed that Biggie's death was as a result of a feud between two groups. Now, at the time, Biggie was signed to Diddy's label, Bad Boy Records, and the label had a kind of feud going on with Death Row Records, which was owned by Dr. Dre and Suge Knight. A few years before Biggie died, Tupac Shakur, who was signed to Death Row Records, was shot and killed. And this made people give Diddy and his label a side eye, because there were people who believed that the Bad Boy label could have been behind it because the East Coast West Coast beef was at its height at the time. So when Biggie was shot only a year after Tupac's death, there were rumors that Tupac's label, Death Row Records, could have ordered the hit on Biggie as revenge for Tupac. You know, you take out our top guy, we're gonna take out your top guy. Yeah, the rap scene was kind of a mess back in the 90s. But after all these years, it's kind of starting to look like people might have gotten it all wrong, because there are still several people who believe that Biggie's death was probably an inside job. And many fingers have been pointed at Diddy himself. Before we go on, let me remind y'all that Kanye West recently exposed Diddy for being under control of the Illuminati because he allegedly killed someone.
This truth is gonna be heard. Y'all can't send none of y'all Meek Mills, y'all Puffies, y'all Lil Boozies, none of these names, none of these people that have to listen to y'all because they have legal. I never killed nobody, right? I'm the that never killed nobody, right? But that means I can say whatever I want.
Now, y'all need to keep in mind that Biggie was Diddy's biggest money maker at Bad Boy Records. Even more, he was the only rapper who could go head-to-head with Tupac at the time. And seeing that Tupac was signed to a rival label, Biggie quickly became one of Diddy's most prized assets, who made him a lot of money. And then Tupac passed and Biggie became the top dog. Things went well until Biggie decided it was time to leave Bad Boy Records and do his own thing because he felt that Diddy was using him. And given his popularity, he would have definitely made it big. But according to sources, Diddy had no intention of letting Biggie walk away. And Diddy's former bodyguard, Uncle Ron, is one of such sources. In fact, not only did Uncle Ron tell us that Diddy wanted Biggie dead,
Jay-Z and Puffy wanted Biggie killed. Bottom line. You don't have to believe me, believe the facts. Here's a man that wanted to leave Bad Boy. He wanted to do his own thing. He mentioned several times how he was tired of being used and abused.
But he also claimed that Diddy offered him $30,000 to take Biggie out.
I was offered $30,000 to perform a hit on Biggie Smalls. March 1st of 1997, I was approached by Diddy to perform a hit on one of his artists.
Child, what on earth? But see, that's not all, because another one of Diddy's former bodyguards, Gene Deal, also hinted that Diddy's hands were not exactly clean when it comes to Biggie's death. While Gene did not exactly come forward to call Diddy out, he made sure that it was more than clear that we got the message that he was trying to pass about Diddy being complicit in Biggie's murder. He also made an interesting comment about how Diddy lied to Biggie's mother on the night of his passing about not knowing who Gene was, even though Gene was his bodyguard. Gene claimed that the reason that Diddy did so is that he didn't want Gene spilling the tea about what really happened to Biggie's mom.
But he told her he didn't know me. The reason he probably did that was because he knew that I was going to tell Ms. Wallace all what happened.
Now, I don't know about y'all, but that seems like a man with a shady secret to me. Gene then said something interesting about how Biggie was trying to get his publishing rights away from Diddy, as well as preventing Diddy from getting his hands on his new publishing rights.
Puff was robbing him and had robbed him out of his publishing and his marketing. Puff seen how Big learned how to put his publishing in other people's name to stop him from getting the money that he was owed. But Big had to play the game because Big wanted to get his publishing back and his marketing.
But his bodyguards were not the only ones exposing him, because rapper 50 Cent also hinted that Diddy knew who pulled the trigger. In his song Hip Hop, 50 Cent said, "Who shot Biggie Smalls? If we don't get them, they gonna kill us all." Man, Puffy know who hit that man. He scared them boys from the west side, gonna break him off. Gene also confirmed Uncle Ron's claims that Biggie was trying to leave Bad Boy Records. Not only was Biggie leaving, but it sounds like he already had a roster of potential acts, including Lil Kim. Now, Lil Kim and Biggie were super close back in the day because they had an affair, even though Biggie was married to Faith Evans at the time. In fact, not only did they have an affair, but he actually got her pregnant in 1996, but she decided to get rid of the baby. In later years, she explained why she did so, saying, "I already knew the kind of relationship that Biggie and I had, and I knew that having a child was something that couldn't take place. And when it comes to Diddy, Kim and Diddy were never close. And when Biggie passed, their relationship became kind of non-existent. People noticed that she had a major grudge against him, and she claimed that she was not willing to let go of it or ever speak to him again." For a long time, there were speculations that the reason that Kim had a grudge with Diddy is that he worked with Nicki Minaj. Now, for those of you that don't remember, Kim and Nicki had a bitter feud for many years because Kim felt like Nicki disrespected her and didn't pay homage to her. Well, Diddy decided to work with Nicki anyways, even though he had a history with Kim. So people felt like this is why Kim was so mad at Diddy. And for a while, Kim actually went along with this, but in one particular interview, she denied that his working with Nicki was the reason for their beef. And then a few years later, a very disturbing rant by Kim came to light, and we saw Kim accuse Diddy of not being loyal to anybody. And according to an inside source, Kim 100% believes that Diddy knows who pulled the trigger on Biggie. She knows that Biggie's death was a major cash cow for Diddy because he now had all of Biggie's rights, which Biggie was trying to take away from Diddy. Now, when you add this all up to Kanye's Illuminati claims, then we get a very clear picture of what probably happened to Biggie. This explains Lil Kim's anger towards Diddy, but it's not like she can say anything because we all know what happens to anyone who tries to expose the Illuminati. Someone commented, "This was perfect timing. Biggie already had an album named Life After Death and wanted to leave Bad Boy, so Diddy had to capitalize before losing Biggie to another record label. He already seen how Tupac's image and Machiavelli blew up after his death." Another person said, "Does anybody remember how quickly Diddy released Missing You after Biggie's death? It always seems suspicious to me." And another person commented, "I believe Diddy had a hand in Biggie's death. Always have and always will." But do you believe all these insider claims about Diddy ordering a hit on Biggie? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time.